Now this is really just a piece of junk. A cheap one, compared to the 4090, but honestly, not really that great considering how much it does cost. Alright, let's talk about PC gaming, because lately it feels like every new release is a test. Not of skill, but of patience. Will my RTX 4080 Super, 32GB of DDR4 RAM, which I should probably upgrade to 64 DDR5, and a 12,900 KF, which I don't want to touch, but will that run the game I want to play smoothly, or am I about to spend the next hour tweaking settings just to scrape by? It's like every launch is more and more starting to resemble great casino gameplay. And honestly, I'm not really into it. To get this out of the way early, I barely know what I'm talking about when it comes to PC hardware. I was exclusively a console player until 2022, and outside of gaming at my job, the one that allows me to buy food for this one, I still exclusively stick to productivity tasks on macOS. That means I really do not have a deep understanding of the intricate hardware tweaks that make Windows run or the games that run on top of it. In my eyes, you just throw money at Nvidia, Intel or AMD, and the more you throw, the happier you'll be. At least once you've finished mourning the loss of your left kidney. Take Monster Hunter Wilds, for example. The open beta? A proper mess. Did I enjoy my experience regardless? Yes, I'd have loved to keep playing, but we are less than 2 months away now, so I'll survive. I, however, went in expecting smooth performance, only to find myself wrestling with the settings just to hit 80 FPS, without having to touch frame generation. Frame generation is great, but not if your real frames per second sit below 60. And for me, 80 to 90 is where I stop feeling the input lag. Below that, it's just awful. Input lag becomes so bad, it feels like the game is actively fighting you. Now, apparently, the final release has been optimized, and if that's true, great. I only have my experience from the beta to go by though, so I'll believe it when I see it. This isn't just a Monster Hunter Wilds problem, it's a trend in AAA gaming. Poor optimization seems to be everywhere lately, and even the RTX 4090, the undisputed king of GPUs, at least for a few more weeks, days? The 50 series just got an official announcement today. Doesn't matter. It has struggled with some games. That's when you know something's off. That's the card you buy when you don't want to deal with tweaking settings, you just want to hit maximum. Personally, I'd still turn off ray tracing because that performance hit never really feels worth it, but that's besides the point. For someone like me who grew up gaming on consoles, the switch to PC gaming was a revelation. Back then, just hoping for stable 60 frames per second was normal, but now 120 is my baseline. I've got the hardware to aim high-ish, but lately it feels like developers aren't holding up their end of the bargain. Yes, I know that they don't actually owe me anything, but that's also besides the point. And I have to admit that I've personally never really had much of an issue with optimization. The majority of games I play aren't really all that demanding. Resident Evil 4 Remake, obligatory mention as per usual, with its insatiable hunger for VRAM, is probably the most taxing one I've had to deal with. Monster Hunter Wilds runs on the same engine, but that doesn't make the engine itself an outlier though. While I haven't played either Cyberpunk 2077 or Hogwarts Legacy, the stories about the performance issues at launch were hard to miss. Cyberpunk has seen massive improvements over time, especially with the 2.0 update, but in its early days, kind of a tough pill to swallow when you're looking at PS3 levels of performance. Performance issues were everywhere, and modders stepped in to make the game playable long before the developers got their act together. Hogwarts Legacy followed a similar pattern. Again, I didn't play it, I only saw the videos on social media, but the apparent frame dips and memory leaks that plagued it at launch were a sight to behold. Once again, modders were the ones who stepped up, fixing Unreal Engine issues and improving performance. It's incredible that we have a community capable of this, but it really shouldn't be their job to fix what the developers failed to deliver. And then there's Elden Ring. Now, this game is special to me, it's one of my favorites. Not quite on the level of Super Metroid, Bloodborne or Hollow Knight, but close. Even so, it wasn't without its problems. Frame pacing issues and stuttering were pretty common at launch, and while I didn't use performance mods myself, as my original playthrough was on PS5 anyway, this is a game where powerful enough hardware can brute force its way through most issues, as it's kept at 60 frames per second anyway. Nonetheless, there are apparently mods that help with performance. It's amazing what modders can achieve, but the fact that they're needed at all is frustrating. Elden Ring is a phenomenal game, and again, never really had performance issues with the game. But it's hard to ignore the trend of players having to rely on mods to get the experience they paid for. Modders are celebrated for good reason. Sure, not all mods are created equal, but the ones that are specifically made to help people get their purchases to work the way that the developers should have ensured from the outset are worth celebrating. And while not all modders are modding with regard to performance, some have made careers out of modding, so it's definitely not a useless endeavor. So from Cyberpunk, Hogwarts Legacy to Elden Ring and hell, while also not a performance mod, Maximilian and his team turning Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite with their Beyond update into a game that even I would want to try. I won't, as I never really cared for MVC outside of watching top 8s anyway. It is absolutely amazing regardless. But once again, besides the point. Modders have shown time and time again that they can deliver solutions faster and oftentimes better than the developers. It's impressive, but it's also a little bit sad. Shouldn't this be the developer's responsibility? Why are we relying on unpaid community members to clean up after multi-million-dollar studios? Which brings me back to Monster Hunter Wilds. If the final release really has been optimized, that's amazing. But the broader issues of poorly optimized AAA games, I don't think that's going to go away anytime soon. When frame generation is listed as a requirement to hit 60 FPS, which clearly goes against the feature's spec sheet's guidance and ray tracing even being mandatory in some games, I think before long a 5090 Ti or a 5091 Ti Super even is going to be necessary to hit 60 FPS in the near future. And with the RTX 5080 and 5090 now just around the corner, does it even matter how powerful these cards are if games can't take full advantage of them, and instead it's the studios that are taking advantage of the customers purchasing their games? I guess we'll just have to keep throwing money at hardware upgrades while modders continue to fix what studios can't or won't. But that's enough from me. What's your experience been like with game optimization lately? Have you had to rely on mods, and for which games? Is your setup handling everything just fine? What setup are you running? Do let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your stories. In fact, I'd love to hear you prove my thoughts wrong about what the future might hold. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.